Alright friends, inside this video topic, we'll discuss another interesting concept and that is how to attach the orders what we have created with customers. What basically I mean from this video topic, let's go back to editor. So to understand this concept, if I go back to our WordPress admin panel, let's go inside WooCommerce, click on orders. So inside last video topic, successfully we are able to create some orders inside WooCommerce order. So we can see that here we have the first order and second order. But if I go into single order detail page, now from this order, we don't have any idea that of which user this order has to deliver. For example, if I open the users list, so we can see that inside this users list, here we have a user that is of administrator, admin, and the second user what we have created from Headless store. So actually this user has done this order inside this WooCommerce store. But if I can see that, so here there's no linking of this order with this user because as we can see the email value rakesh@gmail.com of this user, but here we have something different email value. So it means overall there is no relation between this order and with this customer. So for example, if I want to get like if suppose let's go first and log in here. So for example, if I want to get all the orders of this logged in user, how to get those data? So to get those data, first thing first, we have to create a relation between this logged in user. It means with this user with this order. So how to get these things? So in this video topic, we'll create a relation between a customer and a order. Now to achieve this task, we have two options. First, while creating any user from this Headless store parallelly, we have to register same user as a customer for WooCommerce. I mean to say that click on logout. Click on login and sign up. So we can see that here we have a sign up form. Remember, inside our previous video, after filling all these informations, additionally, we called a WordPress API. And after calling that API, simply bypassing all these details, simply we are creating a user inside WordPress. So I mean to say that after creating a WordPress user parallelly, also we have to do a customer registration for WooCommerce. If I go into WooCommerce, click on customers, and now we can see that inside customers the list is totally empty because inside our last video topic we had done only the user registration for WordPress. Now this is the first option, like while creating any user, also we have to do the parallel registration of customer for WooCommerce. And second, while creating any user, we have to call one more API to get the user ID. It means if I go to the users list, like users, all users, and here we have the second user what we had created. So if I click on this edit link, now inside this URL, we can see that user ID equals to 2. So it means while login that user from this Headless store, also we have to call one more API to get the user ID value. So once we get the user ID value, so when we do or create any order for WooCommerce, so additionally we have to pass one more parameter inside order data so that we can bind that user ID with the order data. So this is the overall concept what we'll discuss inside this video topic. So I will go with the second approach, like after login, we'll call one more API to get the user ID, and on the dynamic way, that user ID will be attached with the order data. Let's go back to editor, open SRC, just go inside pages, and I will open auth component. So here, if I see, so this is our login form submit, and here the user is logged in. So if I go and check that what basically this response returns, let's go back to browser, go here, inspect here, and if I pass the informations, go to console first, let's say username, password is from 1 to 8, click on login. And now we can see that after login, we are getting the data like token, display name, email, and the nickname. But here we don't have any option of user ID, but we want user ID to bind that user ID with the order data. So for that, what I will do, if I go and open this WordPress setup into a new tab, first, I will go and analyze a API endpoint that will be helpful to get the user ID. So let's copy this URL, open into a new tab, and here wp-json wp/v2. Remember, we have an API endpoint called users, but in this case, let's type only v2, hit enter, and inside this JSON document, let's do some zoom. And if I search for Control F forward slash WP forward slash V2 forward slash users forward slash, and now we can see that this is our API endpoint, and this API endpoint we can hit using get request type. So whenever we call this API, and additionally also we have to pass the authorization, it means the logged in token value. So once we pass the authorization token value while calling this API will return complete user data on the basis of that authorized token. Now next after this, what I will do, let's go back to editor. So after login, as we know that we are getting the token value. So here, let's say is authenticated equals to true. And then after, I will call an API to get user data. And in this, also will get the user ID. So let's open api.js. And here, let's scroll down, create one more API endpoint. So this will be function to get user data. So here, let's export const get logged in user data, which is async in nature, and in this function I will pass the authorized token value. So here, let's say try catch block, and in case of any error, simply throw that error into console. Otherwise, let's say const response equals to await, and here api.get, and inside this we have to use this API endpoint URL. So it will be wpv2, then wpv2 users and me. So for this, what I will do, if I go to the top of this file, and here if I search, so this is wp user API URL, it will give up to users endpoint. So let's copy, go here, so backtick symbol, put it here, that is users API URL, and then after we have to call additionally me. So let's copy. So after that, let's say forward slash and me. Then after also we have to pass the authorization token value. So inside the second object here, let's say headers, and inside headers, let's say authorization, and it will be bearer and the token value. So here we are passing the token value. So let's copy, go here. So either we can concatenate with the something like this, or it's better, let's use backtick symbol, bearer, space, dollar, curly pairs, and token. And finally, let's say that return response.data. Let's copy this function name, go inside this auth component, and here, let's say const user data equals to await and the function name. And inside this function, I will passing like the response dot token. And then after, and one more thing, let's create one more constant, and I will call it as, let's say, logged in user data. And here it will be an empty object. So for the time being, if I go, let's say console.log, let's pass here, save these changes. So what we get from this API call, simply we have printed into our console tab. So if I go back to browser, let's go here, and one more time, let's click on logout, go here and click on login and sign up, clear here, and let's pass the username and password, click on login button. And now we can see that, okay, here we have some error, that is get logged in user data is not defined. And it is because that we are using this function but this function before used must be imported. So let's save these changes, go back to browser, and again here let's pass the username and password. Click on login. And now we can see that here we are getting the token value and still it is loading. And also here inside the second response, we are getting the user ID and all these parameters. And this is returned. Actually, we had called the second API concept. Now, next after this, what I will do, let's go inside this auth component. And here inside this handle login form submit method. So we had created this constant. Let's go here. So logged in user data dot id, which is for user id, and we get user id into this user data dot id, like user data dot id. Then after also we store some value like here for the name value, and the value we get like user data. If we go and closely look over this response, so we can see that here we have, if I go, let's open. So we can see here we have the name. This is the username. Here we have the ID, or we can get this name value from the second response, or also we can get from this first response as user display name. So let's get the same value from the second response. So it will be user data dot name. And second, let's say logged in user data dot email, and we get the email value from first response, and this will be from user underscore email. So let's copy, and it will be response dot user underscore email. And fourth one also we need like the username. So logged in user data username, and we get this data from this first response as user nickname. So let's copy, go here, and it will be response dot user nickname. So after storing all this data into this logged in user data variable, what I will do, I'll create one more local storage variable. So let's say local storage set item, and here let's say user data. So JSON dot stringify, and here let's pass logged in user data. Save these changes. Let's go back to browser, and again if I go click on logout, click on login and sign up. Let's remove all these from console. And if I pass again the username, password, click on login button. So successfully, user not logged in, data is generating. And if I go to this application tab, and here inside this application, inside this local storage, now we have one more key called user data. And inside this user data, now we can see we have an object. And inside this object, we have all those data what basically we need for this logged in user. So this ID we can use as a customer ID to create any order for WooCommerce. Now next, to bind the user ID as a customer ID with our order data, what I will do, let's go and open our app component, and here I'll go into a use effect, and also we can check that if user data exists or not. So let's say const user data equals to local storage dot get item, and here it will be user data. If I confirm this key, so it will be user data. So if it exists, what I will do, simply let's create a state variable here. So let's say const logged in user data, and here set logged in user data, and inside this user state initially it will contain an empty object. So simply call this state manager, and here so set logged in user data, and inside this simply pass this user data. Now what next? So this is our state variable. So let's copy, go here inside our checkout component. So if I scroll, we can see that checkout component. So inside this, let's pass one more prop, and I will call it as logged in user data. And inside this, here we have the state variable. So let's copy, And I will go and open our checkout component. So checkout component, first I will destructure. So here it will be logged in user data, and here inside this checkout data, which is also a state variable. So by default, email is going to contain, let's say, logged in user data. And from this, we can get the email value because remember, inside our local storage, also we have stored the email key. Otherwise, if suppose it is not containing any value, so in that case, it is going to return an empty value. So now here we have the email value. So if I save these changes, let's go back to browser. And if I go, let's click on this logout button, again log in and sign up. So username, password is from 1 to 8. Click on login. And after login, it has redirected into checkout page, but still we are not getting any email value. If I go to console, so it seems all okay, but why we are not getting the email value? Let's check here. So logged in user data dot email. So if I go, let's say console.log, and if I print the value, what we are getting into this. So as we can see, we are getting the ID, name, email, and the username. And the issue is that actually we have to use the concept of JSON parse. So let's go inside this auth component, and here, or it's better inside this checkout. What I will do, let's go and logged in user data, or even let's say const user data equals to JSON parse, and here it will be logged in user data. Otherwise, let's pass an empty object. Now, if I copy this user data, let's go and put here, save these changes, and now we can see that this time we are getting the email value into our email field. So successfully, now this is the email of logged in user, but the concern is that we are not still added the user ID or the customer ID with the order data. Let's go back to editor. Now to bind the customer ID or the user ID with each product, concept is very simple. Just go inside these parameters list, and here we have to add one more parameter, and it will be called customer underscore ID. And inside this property, inside this key, we have to pass only the logged in user ID. And remember that logged in user ID we get from this user data dot id. If suppose this value is not available, so inside that case it will contain an empty value. So successfully, once we pass all these data, as we know that by calling an API like a function here inside this data, here we have the complete data, and this user info actually we are passing from this checkout component. So successfully, whenever if we create any order, customer ID will be attached, and we get a relation between order and customer. Next, I will save all these changes. Let's do an experiment by creating a new user. So just go to sign up form. Let's pass the username. So here, let's say that this is the username, email is something aman@gmail.com. Username will be Aman, and password is from 1 to 8. Click on sign up button, and successfully we can see that user registered successfully. Let's go back first to our users list, all users. I just opened into a new tab, and now we can see that a new user now created into this WordPress application. Then after, go inside this login form, and if I pass the informations like the username and password is from 1 to 8, click on login. And now we can see user logged in, but still it is loading. So to correct that, what basically we can do, let's close here, and I will go here. Let's go inside auth component. So we are getting this toaster. So let's cut this line. This is inside handle long login form submit. And here, after doing everything, then after, let's put here, save these changes. Again, if I go here, click on logout, and one more thing I need that we need to update because on logout, Also we have to destroy or also have to delete the key called user data, because if I click on this logout button, and now you can see cart exists and user data also exists, but in case of logout, these data also should be removed. So what I will do simply, it's very simple. Let's go and open our auth component, and I think not auth component, inside our app component, and here inside user logout, here let's say local storage dot remove item, and it will be user underscore data. Save these changes. So if I go click on login and sign up again, and if I pass the user informations, click on login after passing the username and password, and now we can see it is loading and successfully user logged in, and here into this application local storage now user data. So if suppose if I click on logout, and now we can see that successfully we have removed the user data from this local storage value. And one more thing also we can do here, that after login, instead of redirecting into checkout page, that user should be redirected into a product list page. So what we can do, let's go back to editor, and then after I will go into this auth component. So after login, instead of navigating to checkout page, simply let's pass products. Save these changes. If I go click on login and sign up, and then after let's pass the username and password, click on login. So after login, and now you can see that we are on the products page. So quickly, if I go and add some products, so added, added, added. So if I go to our cart, three products we have successfully added, click on checkout button, and now you can see that automatically after login, this is the logged in user email. Let's pass our user informations, because as you know, already we have attached the user ID as a custom ID to create this order. So here, let's pass any name, for example, last name. So this is the last name. Let's cut from here, put here. It's a sample address, city. I'll call it as test city. Then here, let's say test state, postcode, something dummy value, country will be India. This is our email value. So if suppose if you want to change this email, obviously you can do that, because behind the scene, the logged in user ID we have attached to create this order. Now here, let's pass something dummy phone number, inspect here, click on place order, click on place order, and I think okay. Actually, we hit two times the same button. And if I go to WooCommerce order section, and successfully we can see that two orders now placed. So if I open, for example, this 117 number product ID into new tab, so we have to just verify that actually that order is attached with our customer, and successfully this is our email address. And also we can see that here inside this customer, here we can see that this customer is now attached with our WordPress user. So what we can do, also we can see a profile link here. If I click on this customer profile, and successfully it is opening the user what we have registered from our headless store. So successfully now we can see that in this headless store we had created a relation between a customer and a WooCommerce order. So if suppose if I will go into this WooCommerce, let's go inside customers, and inside this customers of WooCommerce, there is no entry. And it's because that we have followed the second pattern to create an order and attach with our customer. So what basically we did after registration, After login, simply that logged in user ID we have attached with that order, and automatically behind the scene it has created a relation between our logged in user ID, means the user of WordPress, and order of WooCommerce. So it means we didn't follow our first approach inside first approach while creating any user from Headless store. Also, we have to parallelly create a customer for WooCommerce. So instead of doing two things, simply we have followed a pattern to attach the user ID of WordPress with the order of WooCommerce. So successfully, in this video now we have the complete idea that how to create a user and bind that user ID to create an order inside WooCommerce. Let's create one more order. So simply I will go here, close this inspect, and inside this product section, let's add this product first, added, added, let's add it as well. And if I go to my account, or sorry, let's go inside cart here, click on checkout, and inside this checkout let's pass some informations, and here sample address, sample city, sample state, some dummy postcode, India, email is okay, phone number, something dummy value, click on place order. And as we can see, order has been placed. So successfully, to verify, if I go and let's reload this order section, and right here we have this order 12 seconds ago. Click on this order, and this order now attached with this user ID equals to 6, and this is a WordPress user. So successfully, this video is too much interesting and was very informative. So for this interesting video, interesting journey, please hit the like button to like this video, subscribe to this channel. Now let's meet to our next amazing video. So for this video session guys, thank you for watching and have a great day.